This should be in German, but it is not, because I cannot find anyone or someone in the surrounding. And it is important to have input, and this is nevertheless hopefully understandable. These are strange colors. I have none lipstick, but it is because of light. Or some calculation of the camera firmware or in between, this is looking that way. This is not legal, an advice or a teaching. I'm not allowed to do it, but it had been years ago, maybe now totally forgotten. This is only to give you, not about this meeting, to give you an idea. It is today, in March 25. There had been the Cold War, and it is really that years, the surrounding years, most of the things even before, I want to have some necessary exchange. I need input from you, not you specially, maybe someone else. And let me say 1967 or 68 officially, that I was born. Then it was an interesting year, 80s or 78. Then of course the following years, Cold War. Better do not understand that I'm not interested. This was there as lightning. It was danger. And it was legally strange. There's the official going on, this traffic regulations, or for example regulations in commerce, e-commerce, and so on. But then there had been the NATO or the Allied forces. And the advice I heard the most, if you are asked, and it was in the papers, keep out of it. I learned from the tellings of the school children, and it was open on the schoolyard, that those would, for example, I think in my calculation, half of the class had the idea to go to a sports club or to some other club to have some, I did not fully understand, because I kept out, not training, but it had been a helping advice in case of the atomic attack. Atomic attack possible. At the same time, I had not learned, it was not explained, experienced, we had international, no, I did not even knew that, but it was a little bit different with me. There had been a difference not mentioned. It was explained because of the not church membership. It was not Catholic and not Protestant. It was not a church membership, and it had been most of the time the only child I was without any church membership. And it was asked at the beginning of the school year to say something about it, to be in the right religious teaching group. For example, Protestant religion, maybe 1 or 2 hours a week, or Catholic. Important that in the papers it was that sometimes there had been unwanted quarrelings even before the court. But it was not very often that children and youth had experienced problems. I did not know too much about it. As I said, I was kept out, but I heard about it. And my mother, the younger, you might see her in other pictures if you're interested, but she is quite younger than my mother, the older. I have 2 mothers, this is not important in this context. But both had said, if you keep out, it is more safe. It wasn't explained too much. I knew the parents meant my best. And my mother had a low standing because she had been a widow. And her income was not discussed, but we had to grow vegetable in the garden. And mother, the younger, had been sewing clothes. And I knew, nevertheless, some acquaintances of my mother, the elder, had possibilities for me to open, for example, the already in other videos or other places mentioned helping voyages. I myself, as a little boy, I could help. It was the custom, help with the housework in the garden. But then also you have better eyesight than me. And please look if you can understand what is there 200 meters away. It was not mentioned that it could be danger, but we were trained, I was trained. With the others it was a little bit different, and this is important. I was trained to look out. Nevertheless, it was said there is no real immediate danger, but do not follow strangers. It is the custom in other countries to go farther, to more into detail. The youth was till a little bit more than that year, and this was one of the few we had. And I looked in it, and then the parents, even my mother, without any university study, had been interested and asked me, and I was curious and looked if I could even further into the modern technologies or the modern science, without even having had any opportunity to have, for example, chemistry in the house. It had been too dangerous. And with that I was raised. Therefore security had been in private. do not follow strangers, because the world is not as nice as communicated, but not, as I now want to know, with any training, except do not go to parties. And there had been some enemies in the Third Reich. This was all the day there, and quarrel arose. Even the wrong saying that the father was considered a traitor, and that is not true. But to discuss with the world, and it was, of course, you could understand it religiously, but with me it had been not that. I knew church members had the uniform of the regime, and there had been support from the churches. My mother, then after World War II, went out, and mother the younger as well. Please understand, I had to keep out, and my mother could. I was invited several times, not to go into an intelligent, that is not the name, but to help, for example, I don't know what. This was very strange and still is. The Western Germany. I understood the DDR, the eastern parts. This is the abbreviation in German. DDR, Deutsche Demokratische Republik. Also ich spreche normal Deutsch. I normally speak German. Those had security all over the place. It was said from the Western propaganda. I knew, because of my visits, some of them, I was raised not to be partial, and this had been then the worldview of my mother. But danger was there, and even danger by being in the membership. But I don't know how that went along. I learned from foreign countries, those are nearly like police work. And then it had been strange. I said maybe later, because it had been in the years around 1985 to 92, that there was even in the papers to organize. It had never been. I don't know why, but then I knew the groups were put apart. It was in the papers. I only read it in the papers, and others said, now this is over. Those had been not on the schoolyard only, it was afterward, after school, but I met them on the street, and those asked, are you going to be out of the registry? And I said, no, it is not necessary, and this is true. Therefore, that had been in the open. And later, after 1992 and the years on, I think it is the right year. Maybe it is 91 or 90 or 93 or 94. I do not know exactly. This is only to have a mark. Then it is even forbidden to build up groups, because there came someone from the, I think it had been administration of the city, somehow I thought from the city council, and he said, are you doing something we don't like? And I said, no, I don't. But please tell me why you are suspicious. I do not know the exact words, of course I spoke German. And he said, many people tell about you. And those came to the doorstep and asked, being immigrants, for example, what to do first. being in the country as refugees, for example, and I wasn't pleased, first of all, but I gave the advice to ask someone from the city, some official. There had been a so-called office where to go, and this was in the papers, and I gave the address. And there, the people must have communicated that those had been at my doorstep. But this was only misunderstanding. But now, looking back, important, because then came a feedback. I met them on the street, not having had meetings, but I met them on the street, and I asked how is it going on. Not a full conversation, but only to say hello, how's going. And those said, no, we have to go to meetings, and there we are in groups, not with the people of this country, but with the refugees, you understand? Then those groups were being built. And then, yes, again, with not German speaking, but then Russians among themselves, and Yugoslavians among themselves, and it was not tested. I only heard about it. And it's important that I understood there was a misunderstanding. One said, I saw you there, and I am already being suspicious. I said, oh wait, I will come once and look. And then I saw the man and said, he's not me, you see, we are totally different. And that was all. That was all. But now understanding, there is the possibility. Once I went there, and I was warned by my mother. Later understood there had been in the company of the forefathers an own security, and even pioneers in security of postmen, of messenger riders, security of the surrounding of barracks, and so on. But I explained it in the others, how I see it. I'm still going into it. But I was raised without, because it had been too dangerous. And I always thought, because of the war, as with others, I did not met my father personally, even he's the father. And then I even had not I had not to communicate. It was for security reasons forbidden, because misunderstandings could be there. It was clear that there is not any touch of criminal behavior. It could have put in his shoes, but I myself had been then in the later years curious, and I asked, and my mother asked others. I don't know how the telephone calls and her meetings, she sometimes, not very often, was on a voyage herself. And now I want to know if the special standing of my mother, she had respect with the unknown. Some I met, but not that I can remember who that had been. My mother had a standing. It must have been that she did before being mostly at home. And me, being born officially 68, and I think it could be, even it is not clear, not in the papers, it is because of the war and the dangers of the Nazi regime. There's in the Nazi regime, I don't like the name, but it is known as that. It is the Hitlerist regime. It had been that dangerous that even afterward, discussing about it has been that dangerous that false accusations could explode to physical. And I was very lucky to learn that he had a good standing with the own military, that is the western side, and yes, he was having respect as being very experienced. Those had the speciality among others, for example, planes with very modern camera equipment and other things. But of course, the destruction of the war put it all in pieces. And I wanted to know, but there had been that many. I have still no idea where to ask. And now, going into the new documents, now on the internet. Back then, my mother had to ask, and she went to places, and other looked, and the documents had not been even in copy. But important, she looked, herself and others, and it's important for me that it must have been known that my mother was with my father, one of the few who were having a so-called high enough standing, and then being on the human side. And the war was technically over, 1941-42. It somehow was prolonged, and that had been that dangerous those years that I was very glad not ever had the chance to be there. There was not heroism, not at all. It was strictly diplomacy as the means of solution, of any solution, but a strong backup, you understand, of course, to have security. But why is no one answering? I need a really serious, not private, official, a real serious official office to ask, who would look into it by themselves, not with politics. Not with politics. It is very important. That's dangerous. I was allowed to keep out of any groups. The others, maybe everyone who could do something, were somehow in the sports clubs or in other, I don't know what groups, trained, and then I estimated 80% of those I had in the surrounding met as children till 85. Yeah, no, even before. But I knew them from the appearance. Maybe not very much after first grade, second grade, fourth grade. Then maybe the fifth grade. There was the year we parted. And then one went to middle school and the other to the high school. And it is important that I now understand what was not even mentioned fully and could not be understood with me is now proven, and that is that with the Breslau friends. But proven does not mean legally proven. That is an S. Breslau friends. Not 100%. This is with www and Breslau, BRESLAU -sign FRIENDS.org. And it is now with circumstantial evidence, I think, that secure that the contradictions are not on the upper side. Till then I understood it is not for me as a boy, as a young boy, to say anything about it. It had been a hot iron. And Of course, it is training to think the father had been on the human side, and then having had the opposition with the others who were laughing, you are a loser, we are the winners. You weak people, you will starve out, and we will survive. And that had been when he was with a police force as a Schutzmann, and there should be proven, or it could be, looking in the documents, that he was working against the Gestapo. It had been possible, but with protest. Those had not an own office in Breslau, Wrocław or Wrocławia now, but we were not even talking much about it. It was that seldom that the echo had been, oh, you want to be something better. I knew the standing of my parents had been better, being on the human side, but it was that destructive the whole time. And afterward, my mother had problems. She tried to communicate with the people in the village, and she was advised by a city clerk, oh, those people have other things in mind. Those do not want to hear about resistance. And those in the shop who already had the word went earlier home, were shunning my mother, and she had to stop. And then again, in the 60s, she had been at Frankfurt, being invited as a witness for the accusers, and it already had been here in this town, Osnabrück, that she was invited and people were doing remarks. Then it was planned to go after policemen, you understand, to go after policemen who had been very young in the Third Reich, and then in the 60s had been then 20 years in their career. And I'm not in favor of going after the policemen. But the ugly thing had been, my mother said, she was even advised, don't say anything. Because being 20 years in the career, some said, I will rather do something not to experience the result. You understand? That is danger in between the lines. I have not heard such a thing, but the not answering is giving me an idea. Is it still a hot iron? Please consider helping me, but not to pay resistance or to pay. It is for my survival. I need, you see, there's pain parmi, Breslau friends. That is possibility to support my journalistic work, and I think it is important, but please understand, it had been a hot iron, and nevertheless we did communicate it, and with Schindler's Liste, I myself had been there, and I saw the stress in the faces. It was not wanted that my mother said there had been resistance in Breslau. I don't know why. Was it that a hot iron? It was in the Czech Republic. The refugee route went south, and then the border to the Czech Republic had been with a little bit different regulations. And most likely the route went there, and then there had been a little bit more chance to hide. I'd like to know, but first of all, I want you to understand, I urgently need help, but please do not go to the idea it is medical. It is a lie. others experienced, but I'm not saying I'm in the same shoes. I have a little bit sleeping disorder, being born in a difficult way. That is not making me a lunatic, but it is in the papers that there is schizophrenic idea because of my tellings, and that is not right. That is not right. This is a detective work, and I do not like the topic. But it is a matter of honor, because my mother had been ridiculed, and me too, that the father was bad-mouthed as a traitor. He was not. Please, it is important. There could be opposition from the Eastern and from the Western. I could even expect both big countries working with false grounds. Of course, it is possible. I'm not saying that the names are known as the big ones, but with false grounds, that is, with documents that are not there, that is a false ground. I could do it myself. Therefore, I'm not saying this is legal. This is my detective work. This is my detective work, and I do not want to come to the conclusion that I'm under pressure, but my mother had been. She had been with the embassy of the US, and those said, as I heard it from my mother, we can't do it. It is given to the British, and the British said, there is no danger. Even that is important for me to know. How could they find out? And then my mother went even to the Netherlands. I don't know if it had been an embassy, but she was not willing to take part in any group. With me, it was left in the open. I did not know, but I did not enter. And I do not want it. I want the protection from the ordinary sworn-in so-called German security, because this is a German country, and it is important that I'm not on the side. It is a guest status I have. Because of the standing of my mother, of course I was not pleased that she was not honored, not at all. And I'm not complaining she was dishonored. I can't say. And I'm not complaining I was dishonored. But not to answer is nearly like that. Therefore, it is in between. And I'd like, of course, to have help from the sides who have sometimes false grounds. This is totally normal, inside of normality. Each country, also a big one, can work and will work on false grounds, because doing decisions, and you do it all the time, and not having everything, please, I already, therefore, in the open, gave my critique that it should be not solved, but it should be first be worked out what the grounds, the documents are concerned. And it is important again that I'm in no group. It would have been illegal to enter a group in the DDR, in the eastern parts of Germany. In a school I had been asked, but I did not complain. I only said, to clarify, I want to say I was asked. And then it was that critical for the, I don't know, teachers. I was a guest in an Eastern school, not for very long, but I did not enter the group. You understand? That is a thing that could be clarified, and it can now be clarified, I hope, but not to clarify it, to clear everything. The grounds still are needed very much. Hopefully there is not that danger anymore. Hopefully not. And I'm already at the point that I say everyone can work on false grounds. everyone. This is not maligning. The US, not having the documents, cannot do anything except working on the grounds those have, and those could be wrong and are. And Russia, of course, can only have that what is known, and if it is not known, the grounds are not right. This is not legally classification. Please understand, I want honor for a mother, of course, for Papa and for my mother, the other, both because of their decision to do pregnancy sharing for medical reasons, and it should be somehow in the papers. But I think because of the political atmosphere in the 60s, maybe 67, 68, my asking around 1990, I think, was not possible to answer. But now I have conclusions, and it is important. I do not want to raise any hope that there is a solution that quick, but a solution could be if there is an account missing or two, but do not put it together. Every single bit, please, as possible, separately. And not on the negative and not on the positive side. I'm the son of my mother and my father and mama, and mother two or mother one, I don't know. Two mothers, you cannot separate them and put them in one or two in a rank. And I'm the son, and there are no daughters, maybe legally wrong in the papers. But mama could be the other, I don't know. There had been a quarrel in 82, and I think my mother said no. She wanted to be officially recognized. I think it was about that, and it was not done. Therefore, there must have been a foster child of that kind. And for me, it is important that I'm saying things not in a legal perspective, but to say there is something. The perspective I cannot have. I heard it, then I said something, and it was answered, it is now okay. You understand? You can't go anywhere. And the people are nice, but now understanding those had been with interests. I did never know about any of any inheritance or of anything that could be of value, except the little my mother had in her account, and later a little bit more because someone else gave her an amount. I knew there is something my mother had as an option for me, and that was not given. Maybe my mother had misunderstandings, but now looking into it, my mother was not a helper or a good diplomat only, and this is new. I can't go there and ask for something. I'm already expecting. As a detective, you can try to understand what the interested side is doing, and please understand, people are not always telling the truth. Have it with me as well, if you like, to be critical about the information. But there could be something. Please help to find out the truth, but not too fast and without doing it in a political way. Okay? Those things are to be separate. It is important. And I said I want to have it, and I still want. And then I'm now hindered, and that's strong, that, let me say, the last years are to be excused. From 92 on, I was constantly having that many trouble finding work and health every week. I had been with the doctor's office, not every week, but nearly every week. And then it went better with, for example, allergies, or also in the digestive system. And then since 2016, around 2016, I had a total other diet. A diet I changed, and then the stomach pain was suddenly over. I nearly constantly had before. Please understand, it is not about my health. I don't like to talk about it, but please understand, I could prove it, that there had been that many doctor visits, but it had never been mentally. Never. And this would then be totally new, and this could be politically. And who is writing something in the papers without me ever complaining about it? This is Friedrich. This is not a third name. I have no 1, 2, 3. I have 3. And it is not that I expect enemies in the official system. Understand that the so-called Federal Republic side had been very much in a critical way criticizing my mother and me, and mother as well. No, first, I can't say. This is strange. Sitting next to mother, Oma, this is mother, Oma, I felt she's my mother, and sitting next to mama, mother, I felt she's my mother. Both breastfed me, and this is strange, of course, but it is not that important what security is concerned. Who is taking over responsibility, and who had been taking over responsibility? This always, our expectations had been that the official police work had to go into it. Please give me your, no, not privately, please officially. Yes, I wrote a letter, and with that it started. I asked, is there something new? Earlier, there had been questioning, and it was said the dangers are now over, the old are gone. And I thought, how come? Opposition? Maybe this or that way. I wasn't explained politically, military, because the counseling wasn't good. It was no official counseling, or was it? This is totally in the dark still now. Please help me. First of all, if you have, for the family affairs, and this is not going any place to the Near East. This is a thing that is, of course, on the side. But the resistance had been for human reasons, and helping those who were mostly in the limelight negatively had been because some of them had been very good friends, comrades, but also working together for the welfare of the city, of the country, and of the nation in Europe. Thank you very much, and if there's any disbelief, I'm expecting it. But any question, please, better in German than in English. My English could be misunderstandingly enough that you then better ask back. Thank you much.